How you got together and formed Phish?
How we got together and formed Phish. We've been playing for 9 years and leaving a trail of improved hotel rooms across the country for 9 years. We met in Burlington at the University of Vermont, and I put up a bunch of signs, and
one sign said bass player needed, and I answered that sign.
He answered it.
And became the bass player. There were three original members that exist now, 9 years ago, and the fourth has now found God. He was another guitarist, and so we added the keyboards, and otherwise it's been the same band since our college days in Vermont, and we still live in Vermont.
Home of Tabitha from MTV. She comes from the same town as us, and as I was saying before, the newspapers in Burlington were very excited, and everyone was excited when Tabitha moved into the news position on MTV News.
So how would you describe your sound?
It's a mixture of loud.
It's kind of, to me, it's a mixture of loud and soft.
It hones in on the medium. It's a cross between rock, jazz, funk, Latin, Broadway, and bluegrass.
Is it easy to find audiences that are willing to listen that much?
It's been easy for us, especially we like variety. I personally like variety a lot. I'm a big fan of variety, so in any one set, things will move from one area to another, and I think that people really enjoy it, especially live. Our last album, which is definitely worth buying, it might not give the whole picture, but as evidenced by this H.O.R.D.E showing, from all the people showing up, there's something going on there. Let me just, you can cut this whole thing out. Ask me that question again, because I have a good answer for it.
Okay.
Hold on just a second.
Sure.
Cop just told us.
So that's okay.
Rolling.
Okay.
Okay.
So the question was, is it hard to find audiences that want that much variety?
It's never been hard for us. That's the interesting thing. Our whole career has been based on live playing. We started out in Burlington, and by word of mouth about the live shows, we worked up to a point where we were touring the whole country, supporting ourselves and 5 crew members. The crew members are all have health insurance and completely self-supported without any record selling at all. So that kind of answers your question. It hasn't been hard in the live sense. It's actually, you might say it's been harder with albums for us to find people who like that kind of variety. But at a live show, you're sitting there and listening to the music, and I think people really appreciate it. Assuming that it's a good kind of variety, that you've got some kind of...
I think what makes variety good is the things that hold it together, that make all the songs have a consistent strand, which sometimes happens more than others, but it's always the same 4 people playing with the same kind of crazy attitude, and so even though it goes through jazz and country and whatever in the course of one set, that's what holds it together. Just a feeling.
Can you stand a t-shirt?
Yeah.
Thanks. So tell me about how you got onto this tour.
This particular tour? Well, we're friends with a lot of these bands. The Aquarium Rescue Unit, who's the first band that played tonight, we've played with probably 15 times. We played with them a lot of times. Widespread Panic, when we first started playing in the South, they were very popular in the South, we were popular in the North. So what we did was we warmed up for them a few times. Widespread Panic came up north and warmed up for us a few times, and we really started hooking up. Blues Traveler, again, it was more of a thing where a lot of the people who were coming to see us were coming to see them, and there was something going on that was connecting the two bands. Though from what I've heard from most people, in my own opinion, the music is very different between the two bands, and but still there was definitely some kind of connection. So it was sort of a logical step that these 5 bands get together. The Spin Doctors, we had never even met before the H.O.R.D.E. but still, people were writing articles about the the three bands, especially Blues Traveler, Phish, and Spin Doctors, were writing articles about the three of us like it was some kind of scene. So we went and we did these concerts. We got together. We had a meeting. John Popper, who's the harmonica player for Blues Traveler, called everybody together, and we all got together and said, let's do a bunch of shows, and here it is.
Do you think, like, in a sense that it's sort of, I mean, I read the Rolling Stone article, and they compare the whole thing to, like, the Grateful Dead, where these loyal people who
Right.
want to hear that music. Do you mind the comparison?
I don't mind the comparison at all, as long as that particular article, that guy, Jeff Giles, who wrote that article, he thought he listened to the albums, he listened to the music, and in the article he said there was a similarity to the Grateful Dead setup, though he didn't think the music sounded like it. And I'll give you a quick example. If you've ever heard the Spin Doctors, anybody who thinks that the Spin Doctors sound anything like the Grateful Dead has got to be whacked. I mean, it's not even in the same general ballpark. So, but the Spin Doctors are still compared to the Dead, and a lot of that has to do with something about just the crowds that are a lot of popular, tie-dyes, and you see that a lot at a lot of different concerts, and the Spin Doctors concerts, you see this. So people kind of tie that in with the Dead. But there are similarities in the business aspect of all five bands to the Dead setup, and that is that it's a family sort of organization where the crew members are treated as family members. They're generally given benefits, health insurance. It's not like you're a hired person. And I think that that's the biggest similarity, other than the fact that all five bands improvise on stage and do a different set every night. And that attracts Deadhead type music listeners.
And people that will travel around to see
Yeah.
the bands, since each night's going to be different.
Yeah.
Each song, and each time they play a song, it'll be different too.
Right. It's always
Hopefully.
a different thing, hopefully. And the idea is to never do the same show twice. But really, I think the gist of it, what's tying it all together and why people are making some Grateful Dead comparisons probably, is that there's been to my ears, there's been a real lack of bands that their focus is playing live. Most bands through the 80s, their focus was making albums and they toured to support the albums. All five of these bands are live bands. They play live and that's what they do. They also make albums. And hopefully we can make some great albums in the future. I think all five bands would say this. But the immediate goal is to play live and support yourself, and that's what all five bands are doing, and that's why we brought it together.
That's great. Tell me about the groupies and like this loyal hardcore following that follows you, if there is one.
Yeah, actually, they've grown slowly over the years. Maybe for all the bands, it's sort of a similar kind of scene. It's not exactly the same. And they've grown on their own by trading tapes and that sort of thing, and just word of mouth. And the first time we got to California, the show sold out because people had already heard our, we didn't have a record deal or anything like that, but people had heard the tapes.
Yeah.
Do you mind people bootlegging?
Not at all. It's been bootlegging tapes has been what made us what we are.
Who we am.
So the bootleg tapes, okay. People tape the shows, they trade these tapes, and what we've got set up for us right now, I'll speak about us because all five bands have sort of similar things. All five bands have sort of a similar situation, but for us, we've got a very large mailing list. We've got about 17,000 names on our mailing list, and that's growing. And we've got our some of our fans have set up this thing called the Fishnet computer network, international computer network, and anyone who has a computer can get on this thing. It tells you they have tape trees. For instance, this H.O.R.D.E show, whichever one they're going to allow taping at. Some of them they don't allow taping, but we'll take a tape from the H.O.R.D.E show. We won't. Some fan will, and they'll put it on a tape tree on the Fishnet, and within a few days, 500 Phish tapes from this particular show will be out there. And it's just a way of getting the music around, and it keeps us on our toes because knowing that the tapes are going to be out there means that every night you've got to do something new. If something exciting happens, you know, the easiest step would be, well, let's rest on our laurels and do the same thing again. But you can't do that because you know that everybody's going to know it's been done before. So you really want to be moving forward, something different, something different. Tonight, there's something that we did a couple nights ago that I really thought was cool, that was a new thing, and backstage we were just talking about, should we do that again? And well, we better just try to think of something else.
Okay, we're rolling.
Or were we talking about something else?
You were talking about the fans, the following.
Yeah.
Are we
rolling?
I gotta
We're
tell
rolling.
groupies. I've missed that part of rock and roll. I don't know. I'm telling you the truth.
You have no groupies?
We don't have groupies. I mean, we have plenty of big-time fans who are. This word has been on the tip of my tongue throughout this whole conversation.
Loyal? Dedicated?
No, more than that.
About hardcore.
No, it was in the Rolling Stone article. Obsessed. I mean, it's an obsessive kind of thing.
Actually,
In it,
oh, I'm sorry.
hit it. Well, let me just finish and then hit it. They get. There's a lot. We have a lot of intricate lyrics in our songs that to someone who picks up the album and has never heard the band before might think it's sort of gobbledygook. And really, there's characters that run through a lot of different songs, and it takes a long time to unravel all the storyline to a lot of this stuff. And so people get involved in the band and they realize that there's all these different levels of stories going on, there's characters and there's different lands and stuff. So it becomes sort of an obsession, I think, with certain people, and since it's different every night and always changing, then when they come to the concert and something genuine happens, the fan is a part of a genuine event that's happening right at that moment. And that feeling, I don't think they ever shake it. When they come to a concert and something spur of the moment, incredible, exciting thing happens, and they're part of it because we're feeding off their energy, and they're sitting in the same. We're all in one room doing this thing together, whatever it may be, and you can't shake that. That stays with you, and you're kind of hooked, to use a little Phish pun. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say sort of the same thing. That I've talked to people that come down to see us, and they talk about this emotion that they get when they are here or when they're at a gig, and it's really something they can't get anywhere else. And it's something that we don't realize playing in the band as much because we do it every night. So it's just in our heads, But if they see us every few weeks or every couple months, then it's just people say it's kind of a carnival atmosphere because we're not playing pop songs, and it's not something that would be accessible to the mainstream first-time listener necessarily. But for the people that come, the music and everything else that goes on in the room and on stage and in the crowd, and it's this different sort of feeling, and it's unique to this, experience, and so they keep coming back.
Is it ever scary if people are sort of obsessed?
No,
I think it's great.
I love
actually.
it. Because the reason that I love it is because what I was saying before, it keeps you on your toes. You have to be thinking of something new, and that challenged me. We couldn't go out. We did 4 gigs on this H.O.R.D.E tour, and the first gig and the third gig we played 3 of the same songs. We didn't, we played the first gig we played, second gig we did all different songs except one. The third gig we played similar songs that we played to the first gig, and I heard from people, because they're following us around. They said, why don't you play? Because we have about 100 songs in our song list, and original songs. Most of them aren't on albums, so. Whatever, the point being that I like it. I think it keeps things fresh and keeps things interesting.
Right. So you've been on.
Rolling.
Okay. 2 more questions actually. So you guys been constantly on the road for 9 years?
Not exactly.
How extensive is the tour?
We've been playing for 9 years. We're on the road plenty now. 7 months.
7 months.
7 months out of the year. And when we started, though, it's been a very slow process for us, and we've been in no rush, and I like it that way. I hope it continues to be slow. not in any rush to go anywhere. But we started in Burlington. We slowly moved out to, that's in Vermont, home of Tabitha. We slowly moved out to New Hampshire, got a gig in Massachusetts, got a gig in New York, went down south, went to Colorado. This is over a period of years. And eventually, by heavy touring, built our way up to touring the whole country, and then we just finished our first European tour, where again, we were, maybe we convinced 100 people in Europe. That's the way I feel about it. We had one very strong gig over there, and the rest were, because we were the warm-up act for the Violent Femmes. But, it's been a slow thing over 9 years, and it keeps getting more, the touring becomes more and more.
You see yourself touring like 20 years from now, still together?
Good chance of it.
I hope so. We get along very well for a band that's been playing for 9 years, and things to me don't really feel any different now than they did 9 years ago. I mean, the experience of going on stage and having a great musical experience is the excitement of the band. And I don't care if tonight there's 12,000 people or something, and 9 years ago there was 2 in the room. And I'm telling you, it really doesn't feel any different to me. If we play well, it's exciting, and if we don't play well, it's frustrating. So it's a real continuum.
It's worth it, though. I mean, all in all, it's an incredible job to be able to travel around and go to some new city that we never played in and jam and play music that we've never heard before because it's all spontaneous, to that moment, and have some people be blown away by it or something. So if we could be doing that in 20 years, then I'd like to be doing it.
Things are going to come into play, of course. None of us are married, including the crew. No one has any children yet. So in terms of the heavy touring schedule, my philosophy is a little bit that let's do it now, because I'm hopefully gonna have a family, and then we'll have to figure something out. Take the family on the road, or not tour quite as much.
That's a little big hand backstage.
I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that will be another issue when that happens.
Last question, videos. Will you ever make one?
Oh, I assume. We were planning on making one for this last album, and it was going to be an animation, and it ended up just being too expensive and too time-consuming, and everybody wanted the video done by July, and it's July now. The video isn't done. What do you say to that, Mike?
I agree. The video isn't done.
Great.
All right.